Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wild Rebel Wellness Podcast. I'm DeDe, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation I just had with Wild Rebel Samantha Grewan. She shared her inspiring story about life leading up to bariatric surgery and how it's changed since then. She touched on her experience with imposter syndrome and fat bias, which is something a lot of us can relate to. She also talked about her relationship to food and exercise and how that's changed, as well as her personal life and how that's been impacted. Along the way, she shares so many great tips for people considering surgery as well as trying to navigate life afterward. So stay tuned for this heartfelt and helpful conversation, and don't forget to subscribe to join the Wild Rebel Wellness community and hear more inspiring stories just like this one. Hi, Samantha. It is really good to see you. We got to talk a little bit on the phone before this, but I really wanted to just save it all to hear from you.
I know it's nice to always put a face to a name and to a voice. So
Absolutely. But I love these stories. I really, as I had mentioned to you before, I just found them to be really, really educational, useful when I was preparing for my own surgery. And I just find them really inspiring and just educational in terms of what other people go through and how they face them and how they rise to those challenges and the lessons that they learn. And I tried to learn them myself through their experiences instead of having to experience them myself. And yet we still have to go through our own challenges. So I really, really appreciate you sharing your story because, like I say, it inspires me. But also, I'm really hoping that it builds this community of bariatric patients that are needing that inspiration. So, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
well, I'm actually really excited about it too. If me talking about it can help one person who's thinking about it, or one person that might be going through with it afterwards and like, oh man, did I make the right choice? Or, anything like that. If I can help one person, then it would be worth it.
So, just to get started, I would like to hear your story. You shared a little bit with me on the phone, but what what was life like before you even knew about bariatric surgery? What led you to make that decision? Tell me about your story.
So I always struggled with weight. Always. I have some weight trauma from when I was younger, just with the way people treated me and the jokes that were made. People can be cruel, kids can be even crueler. So I've always kind of struggled with a healthy relationship with food and body image and everything like that. And then after I had my son, it got worse. After a C-section, it's harder to get the weight off right there. And then struggling with mental health and things like that, it can compound it. And then a couple of years ago, it hit an all-time just bad. I started having some health issues, and the medication they put me on caused weight gain. And they told me they couldn't take me off the medication because I needed it, but the medication would make me gain weight. But the more weight I gained, the more medication I would need. And so it was this vicious cycle, and I tried so hard. I could go, a day or two without eating anything and still gain weight. And I just was slowly ballooning out and becoming someone that I didn't even recognize when I looked in the mirror. And not only that, but, I started having more health issues. The one turned into another. I had high blood pressure, I had high cholesterol. I was always swollen and in pain and everything hurt and I was angry. Looking back, I don't think I realized how much anger and frustration that I had and how it was affecting the people around me. So, I know I noticed a little bit of it back then, but now looking back, it's crazy to see how much that affected me as well. And I knew I needed to do something. I hated seeing pictures of myself. I tried to hide from the camera. I hated being introduced to new people. I just wanted to come home from work and lay in bed and not do anything. And, you know, I knew that it was affecting my now fiance. You know, we were dating at the time, but and I knew it was affecting my son. But I guess it didn't, it took like one instance for it to really just kick in, like, oh God, I need to do something and I need to do it now. Um, and my son would have been 5, maybe 4 or 5. And he had been excited because he had like this toy that he wanted to go play with me. And I had gotten home from work and I just felt like crap. I was hurting and it was just a bad day and I was grumpy. And I had gotten home from work and I just went and laid down on the bed. My son comes in with this toy. I think it was something we had to go outside to play with. And he was all excited and he looked at me and you could see, he could tell it was not gonna happen. And he goes, "Oh, do you want me to just go get a toy I can play with in bed with you?" And my mom heart just shattered. I was like, what am I doing to my son? Like, how is this fair to him? It's not. He shouldn't have to regulate what he wants to do around my mood and how I'm feeling. Like, I should be the one that is working around his moods and feelings. And so that was when it really hit me like, I need to do something. And I was looking up options and trying to figure out what I could do that I hadn't already tried. I've tried all the diets, I've tried this, I've talked to doctors, we tried medications, nothing worked. And there was a girl that I worked with that was listening to me, you know, stress out and rant and rave. And turns out she was a bariatric patient. And she's like, well, have you ever thought about this? And, you know, in my head, I was like, oh, that's for people who are way bigger than me, or that's for, you know, what we've seen on like the My 600 Pound Life or things like that. Like that's what I associated it with. And she's like, no, you can do it now. If you are at higher weight and you've tried things and the things don't work, talk to your doctor. It might actually be a good idea. And so I went and I talked to my doctor, and they talked my primary and my neurologist and another doctor ended up talking. They're like, you know, this is probably the best option for you because we can't take you off the medication until you lose weight. And so begrudgingly I decided I was going to do it, but it was a lot, like, for me to even process, oh God, I can do this. And it's not just for that stereotypical person that you think of when you think of bariatric surgery. Um, and so that was the start of my journey for me. And then the 21st of last month was my 2-year post-op, and it's crazy just comparing where I was to where I am now. And honestly, even knowing that I was going to get the surgery and I was going to lose weight, I never thought that I would lose as much weight as I had, or be as active as I am, or, you know, feel happier, less angry.
Oh, so much to dive into there. I love this story and I really appreciate the idea of what kept you from knowing about it. You know, it took someone at work mentioning it in all of the visits with your doctors. They didn't suggest it. It had to be somebody else. That right there is a whole story in itself. But also that you identify it with, you know, why we didn't consider it, why we didn't think about that beforehand. So much I want to get into, but I do want to stay in the time before. So, when you did decide to have surgery or to start exploring it, even, did you share that with people in your life? And I ask this because, you know, bariatric surgery, our bodies, our weight, even though it is visible to the world, it's a very personal
Yeah.
it's a personal dimension of ourselves. It's a very personal decision what we eat, why we eat it, you know, what we choose to do with our body, what we choose to do about surgery or whatever. And not everybody in our lives has earned the right to be a part of that decision or that conversation, right? So I'm curious about the people in your life that, you know, whether you shared your story or shared your thought process with them and how involved and supportive or not they might have been.
So when I first decided that it was an option, I talked to my now fiance, Philip, about it. And honestly, I'm so, so freaking lucky. Because he loved me and supported me at my heaviest, and he loves me and supports me now. And I knew he's very reserved, but also blunt. So I knew that if anyone was going to give me solid feedback without trying to skirt around and not hurt feelings, it would be him. And so I remember when I first started considering it, I sat him down and I'm like, so this is what's going on. And I think I'm to the point where I need to explore surgery. And he just looked at me for a minute. He's like, is it what you want to do or what you feel like you're being pressured to do? And I'm like, a little bit of both, if we're being honest, but I think I want to do it because I want to do better. And he's like, okay, so do you want to do better for me or for Adrian or for yourself? Because if you pick to do it for anyone other than you, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And I was like, well, I want to do it for me. I want to be a better person, not just for me, but for you guys as well. And he's like, well, if you think it's the right decision for you, I'll support you. If you want to do it, I'll support you. If you don't want to do it, I'll support you. It just what you make sure it's something that you think is right for you before you make that decision. And so that helped a lot. And I told my son, even though he was tiny, he didn't really fully understand, but I told him that mommy was going to have a surgery and it would be a little rough after the surgery, but I was having the surgery so that I'd be able to play with him more and be able to do more with him when I got better. And so he's like, okay, yeah, do it. Um, so they were the first two people that I told. And there's, one or two really close friends that have been with me through a lot that I let know. And, they were, again, kind of like Philip was, where it's, are you sure you're doing it for the right reasons? Because if you don't do it for the right reasons, it's not going to work. And so, besides, I think I can count on one hand how many people I told before surgery. And even after surgery, I didn't tell a lot of people, it, there's still some people that are very, very close to me, family and friends that don't know. But again, now it's only about a handful of them. But I was terrified to tell them because I know they can be very judgmental people. And I've experienced people when they found out I was having surgery, like, oh, you're taking the easy way out. You're cheating. And I'm just like, I'm already struggling with coming to terms with the fact that I'm going into the surgery to because I can't I can't do it without it. And it's hard and it's emotional and I'm emotional and I the last thing I need is people like, oh, you're taking the easy way out. But I never understood that. Like, how is going in and having them cut my stomach up and having to relearn food and how to eat, and how is that the easy way? I'm not discounting either way, whether it's losing weight naturally, losing weight with Ozempic or things like that, or losing weight through bariatric surgery. None of it is easy. All of it is a mind game. It's your willpower, it's your determination to change, it's actually adjusting your lifestyle. Um, but trying to explain that to those types of people is hard and not really worth it. So, yeah, but there's actually a few people that I still 2 years out don't, they just think that I had a really kick workout plan or something.
I really am so grateful that you have had and still have a really supportive community, however small it is, and particularly that it's your now fiance and your son and some good friends. It doesn't take a lot, but it does take some people supporting you. That community around us is so incredibly important. So I'm really glad that you have them and they responded in such a loving way.
I really am lucky and I know it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love it. So you mentioned that you had tried a few other things before. Did you do any of the medical? Did you do any of the Ozempics or the Saxendas or any of those before?
Yeah, so we had tried a couple of different medications. I tried the shots at one point, and they'd help for a little bit. The second I stopped, it just ballooned back up. I ended up bigger than I was before. And so it was a constant yo-yo. Like I think I'm doing good, but the one little slip and I was back up, or taking the medication and I'm back up. And so there was never really a balance. It was either big, slightly smaller, slightly bigger, slightly smaller. And it just kept going and going until I think at my heaviest, I was 267 pounds. And, when I was super pregnant and giant, I was only like 232. So I'm like, what did I do? how did I get to this point? Like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to.
How tall are you?
5'4".
So then you decide to have surgery. Did you find a bariatric program close by or?
Yeah, luckily, I work for a healthcare system, and that healthcare system has a very good bariatric program, and it was covered most of it was covered by my insurance. I think they paid for like 90% of it. So I got super lucky there. I know not everyone is as lucky as I am, but it kind of fell into place very easily. And the surgeon who did mine actually just hit, I think, like 5,000 people that she's done the surgery on. And she went and spoke at a conference shortly after doing mine. So, like, I got really lucky. I had a super great surgeon who, I went in and I didn't feel judged, and she answered all of my questions and, went over like the pros and the cons, which one she would suggest. But if I didn't feel comfortable with it, these were the other options. So I got really lucky there. And with that, I don't know how other programs work, but we had a dietitian at the hospital. We had all of that like at the hospital, so I could do one appointment, walk over to the other appointment, walk over to the dietitian, and talk to everybody all at once when I was there, which helped a lot. And then we had a group like with the dietitian. We could do one-on-one, but they also did groups like, all right, everyone here is 6 weeks post-op. Let's talk. How are you doing? Any advice that one person can give somebody else, you know, things like that. What have you been struggling with? So that was nice too because it gave a little bit of a sense of community because, hey, all of these people had the same surgery as me. All of these people are going through the same thing that I did. So that was nice as well.
Did you have an opportunity to be in groups where there were people that were post-ops already that you could get insight into what you have to look forward to or any of that?
There were Facebook groups, but nothing in person, which I think that would have been nice as well. But
Well, I'm interested to hear a little bit more about your particular programs because every program is different. So I'm curious about your program. What were the requirements of your program? What did they offer, and how did they support you?
so going into it, once I talked to the doctor and we decided if I was a candidate for surgery or not, I had to do a sleep study to determine if I had sleep apnea. I had to meet with a mental health specialist who focuses in bariatric. And I had to set up a couple of appointments to have a bit of an understanding before surgery. And then it was required that I continue after surgery because mental health is such a big thing. I had to have some scopes done on my esophagus and make sure that there was going to be no issues, with surgery. A couple of follow up appointments to make sure I was doing everything correct. If I was able, they wanted to see if I was able to lose weight, even if I couldn't maintain it off, but lose that weight before the surgery to show that I actually can, stick to a plan. So, where my heaviest was 267, I think I was 252 when I went in for surgery. So, but so there was a lot of different appointments and different specialists that I needed to see to get cleared on before they would actually proceed with the surgery. And then again, there was the nutritionalist and dietitian that I had to meet with so that I could go over how I'm eating now, how things would change, what the expectations were, and talk along the way to, I had to journal my food and water intake. I had to journal all of that so that they could actually verify that I was doing what I was supposed to. And then they were also pretty big on checking labs. Monthly before surgery, and then after surgery, I think we had to do 1 month out, 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months out, a year and a half out, and then 2 years out. Now it's gonna be yearly that we check in on it, and just to make sure my labs are where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Do you do your follow-up appointments, get all your labs and everything through that same program, or is that through your primary care?
It's all through the healthcare system that I work for. So it all works pretty easily for me there, which is really nice. But I have my bariatric specialist, which is the one that I normally see. She's the one who schedules the labs. There's a lab in the building, so I can just go downstairs, do the labs and knock it out. So it's very convenient and easy for me to actually stick with it. I think if I'd have to go over across town for this one and then go over here for that and then do this and then it probably would have been easier to fall off and not follow through with the program. So,
I mean, all of those components are really important, right? And
mhm,
it's also some of the hoop jumping that other people are like, look, I can't lose weight. I don't want to have to prove that I can. I don't want to have to do all of these other things. especially if their insurance doesn't cover it, in order to have this surgery.
Yeah.
And they get really frustrated by that. I'm really glad that your program was so comprehensive because a lot of those components are the reason that people are successful afterward. And the mental health screening, which essentially, actually, I want to ask you, how was what they did with, your meetings with the mental health specialist? How was that sort of different than the support that you got with your fiance and your friends, making sure that you were doing this just for you? How was that different?
Well, so with my friends and my fiance and everybody, it's more of a like, how are you feeling about it? Are you happy with this choice? Things like that. Um, but they didn't fully understand like what was going on in my head. They just had to trust what I was saying. And for me, seeing the mental health specialist who specializes with talking to bariatric patients, we were able to more deep dive into it. You know, we were able to talk about and help me have a better understanding of body dysmorphia and how that was going to affect me. Um, One thing that I struggled with, they said, was imposter syndrome because once I started losing the weight, it was like I was looking at somebody else and it wasn't actually me. And so, where I had no idea how to process any of those feelings. And despite the support from my group, my friends and my family, they don't understand those feelings and those emotions. So even if I tried to explain it to them, they're like, "What do you mean it's not you? Like it's obviously you." But in my head it wasn't. And they're like, "Look at you. You look great." But in my head I didn't. I struggled so hard with accepting these changes because it didn't feel real. And sometimes I mean, I still struggle with it 2 years out. I'm not going to lie to you and say everything is rainbows and sunshine and happiness. There's still some really bad days, but I don't think I would have been able to cope with them as well as I did if I hadn't seen someone who specializes in bariatrics, who specializes in drastic weight loss, because I had no idea those were even a thing.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest change for me was just knowing that I wasn't crazy and that these feelings and these emotions and everything were valid and real. And there was a way to work with them and learn from them and work around them. So,
I'd like to dive a little bit more into this particular area because, the famous saying, they do surgery on your stomach, not on your brain, which again,
mhm,
why it's not easy. So it's also one of the areas that some programs don't really address or prepare people for either before or afterward when there's still emotional eating and people have, especially at your 2-year mark, they're starting to get hungry again. And that body dysmorphia and imposter syndrome, it is real. It is real stuff.
it's
And
brutal.
and who do you go to deal with that? I really am so grateful that your program offers that as just a built-in component. That's amazing. So, how did you then manage some of that, you know, before and after, especially after, and what's your plan in moving forward even?
So for me, a lot of it was I would look in the mirror and I would still cry a lot because even though I've lost the weight, I still see myself at that heavy weight. And then on the off chance that I didn't see myself at that heavy weight, all I saw was the loose skin hanging on my stomach. For girls, my boobs aren't as perky as they used to be. And I always liked that they were perky, and now it makes me really sad that they're not. My butt's not as nice as it used to be because it's a little more saggy. And so it's easy to hyper focus on these things. So I either see myself still fat or I see, okay, I'm not fat, but I'm saggy. I don't like that. And it can get so hard to process it. Or, like I would see the scale went down, but I don't see it. Like I still see I can grab and pinch and do all the things. So some things that helped me that they told me to do was don't don't keep getting on the scale. I had to have my fiance hide it because I'd like put it away, but then I'd grab it back out. And every morning, I'd get up and before I hopped in the shower, I would step on the scale. And if it fluctuated by like point 0.2, I was freaking out. Like, oh no, today I'm 211 and yesterday I was 210.8. I'm going to starve myself today. And it's so bad for you. It's so bad. So I would have it, once a month, I would look at the scale because those daily fluctuations, like have it be the same time every month, whether it's first of the month or whatever. And he'd hide the scale and it would be gone. Like I have no idea. I still don't know where he put it, but
It's hard.
I know he was so supportive through all of it. I was so lucky. But so not stepping on the scale is the biggest thing because it's so easy to hyper fixate on that number. And then there's those periods where you can go like 2 months and you don't lose anything and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Oh God. And you start to panic and then your brain can go to, I'm gonna get fat again. I'm gonna like it's all gonna and so one of the other things I did was measurements. Instead of looking, I would track my neck, my shoulders, my arms, chest, waist, hips, thighs, and calves. And even when I stayed stagnant, like I think it was like I went from 252 to like 211, and I stayed there for a little while. And then once I was at 211, I got to like 180, and then I stayed there for like 3 months, and I'm like, what the hell? And but I noticed as I was tracking the weight, even though my weight was staying stagnant, I was still losing some inches. And I realized, well, I'm being more active. I'm doing more things. I'm building up muscle, but muscle and fat don't,
Don't
play
live
out
it.
the same. So
Yeah.
weighing myself bad, measuring myself super helpful, especially once I started going to the gym and I'm like, okay, my arm's getting a little bit bigger. I like this. Like it's not a saggy bigger, but it's bigger. Um, and then the other thing was comparison photos. Though
Hmm.
I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, God, I look terrible. Snap. And just take the picture. But then I would look at it and I downloaded this layout app and I took that heavy picture and I put it next to it. And then I'd look in the mirror and I don't see it in the mirror, but I see it in the picture. And I'm like, how does that even work?
Well,
So
that's
even on those bad
great.
days, I'd be like, take a picture.
Is
Let's,
that just out of curiosity?
um, it
I
was
mean, helpful.
like an Instagram layout app that you can download. And it's super simple because you can put like 5, 6 pictures on there. So I've done pictures where it's like you can see like a month by month comparison and to like the new one and or I could just do like one or two or the one that you had seen when I had posted it on that Reddit thing was, the same thing. I just picked 3 pictures and I put them on there. But just being able to do that, I was like, is that really me? Because it's so weird. I can be directly looking at myself and not see it, but look at a picture of me looking at myself and see it. So for me, and that was some of the stuff that my therapist had told me was don't trust your eyes. Trust the pictures, trust the measurements, don't trust the weight. But the pictures and the measurements were the big things that helped me when I was feeling like it wasn't real
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like I was failing.
Yeah. I've
So
also heard pictures where if you can take them in a doorway, or like even I'm up against a closet, but where you've got some perspective, like you can see yourself, between these two lines. Now I'm between these two lines. And so you've got a perspective in space where how much space your body is taking up, even. So you can't deny it's right there. You can't deny it. But if you're just looking at it like you said, it's not trustworthy. And
yeah,
imposter syndrome, oh yeah, it's big.
that one still hits pretty hard sometimes. Actually, and I won't even lie, last night was a really bad one for me. Like I
Really.
was doing my thing and I was at my MMA class that I do on Friday nights, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's fun. I love it. If you had asked me 2 years ago, absolutely not. But I was at my class, and all of a sudden, I just had to sit down. Like I had to stop what I was doing, and it just hit me. And I'm like, I don't. Sam might belong here, but I don't belong here. And I started to panic. I actually had to get up and just walk out of, I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I'm sure they were all super worried about me, but I had to leave and I got home and I was just crying and I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack. And my fiance looks at me, he's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just I don't feel like I should, it's not me. Like I don't feel like it's me. It's not me. I don't fit here. I don't belong here." And I had to just go lay down and thank he's so patient through all of it. He came in, he covered me up, he told me it was okay and until I calmed down. And then I was able to get up and sit with my kid for a minute and things like that before I went to sleep. But like yesterday was such a bad day. Today, not so much. Today I'm pretty good. But yesterday, and that's how it goes. Like you're gonna have some really bad days. It doesn't just automatically stop.
Right.
But I found that those bad days far fewer
Yeah.
than they were. It
Yeah.
doesn't go away completely, but it becomes easier to manage. It less time that it happens. You get through the experiences a lot quicker and they're a lot more infrequent, which is great, but they do still hit. So I don't want people to think like, okay, you're gonna have surgery and you're gonna lose weight and magically everything is all better all the time because
Yeah. No.
that's kind of what I expected.
I know.
And
So that's
you
that's
know, it's
that's
like
what
you're skinny now. What's wrong?
exactly. Exactly. And honestly, I think that is a beautiful point right there because now what? That is the question. Now what? Now that you don't have that to worry about, the whole rest of the world is open. So now what kind of a life do you want to create?
Yeah.
What
And
will you let yourself create? What will you let yourself pursue? But before we get there, I want to go back to skin because that is another really big. Um, I'm really curious about how you feel about it, what you want to do, if you've already done something about it, if you're thinking you might do something about where are you with skin?
skin sucks. We're just gonna start there.
Let's
I know that
explain that.
I'm super lucky, and I'm also super OCD about it all. Constantly doing the like oils and the lotions to try to keep the elasticity. I've been going to the gym and focusing on those target areas. I hate my arms, but I know for having lost over half my body weight, my arms aren't that bad. But it's still there. It still jiggles. It's not all gone forever. Um, but it's a lot better than it could be. And I know that. So I'm super lucky, super grateful for that. But on that same note, 100% I would like to save up and do a skin removal because I know some of it I'll be able to get rid of. And I'd like to work on that before. I don't want to just go in and have them be like, cut me all up and be done. I want to work to see what I can take care of first. But I know there's certain things like my lower abdomen area. I had a C-section. I already got cut up there. The skin just kind of hangs there. Spanx are my best friend because you can't see it most of the time. People are like, "You look great. What are you talking about wanting to remove loose skin?" I'm like, "Yeah, this right here, solely Spanx. Solely Spanx. Outside of it, it's horrible." So yeah, I would like to eventually have skin removal, maybe get, a little perkiness back, but overall, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but at the same time, it's worse than I thought it would be, if that makes sense. Like,
Totally.
I expected it in my gut. I didn't expect the skin on my back to hang. And I thought I still had a butt until I realized it was loose skin. I
No.
was like, oh no, this is
Yes.
horrible. I don't like this. And so, there's certain things I was prepared for. And then there's things that hit me and I'm like, no, no, I don't like this. This is not okay. Um, but yeah, so it's a lot of exercise and toning. I do most of my gym time is strength and toning. I'm not trying to get, ripped, but it's helped with this. Surprisingly, with having lost so much weight,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that bad. And I'd like to
You put it on up here, it takes it from down here and moves it
yeah,
up. So
and lifts
yes.
it back up. And, I had a lot of people ask me about my tattoos. They're like, "Well, you have a lot of tattoos. What about the loose skin. And, surprisingly, they've done very well and haven't, they don't look all wrinkly and stuff. And again, I think I toned those areas really well. I used that vitamin E oil and all the stretch mark stuff and everything that's supposed to help with elasticity. And I lotion it and I do all that. But I also think it's just, I am younger than some of the people that do it, and I'm lucky. So I know that it's a lot of hard work, but it's also a lot of luck in there with it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Awesome. And so I think it's really admirable too that you want to see what you can do. Again, none of this is taken the easy way. And I think even plastic surgery afterward, it usually is not covered. I mean, rarely actually does insurance cover it, but it can play such a tremendous role on the continued motivation and addressing this imposter syndrome and the mental health aspect of it,
yeah.
that some people, are not inspired to continue what has felt good, until they have, had at least the areas that they struggle with the most, addressed with a plastic surgeon. But I'm uh, I'm inspired that you want to just do as much as you can yourself, and also recognize that there might be a point in your future that is what you want to address next. So awesome job.
Thank you.
Um, I also wanted to go back to the you talked about how people have sort of reacted to you. And I'm curious about some of that influence now, where, I mean, if they think that you're just, you know, really giving it hell in the gym, great. But how has your community, even your job, how has that changed for you?
People who know that I have the surgery have been super supportive. I've been very lucky because I think part of it is they also see that I'm not just going back to my old ways. Like I'm committing to it. But they've been super supportive. My boss and my director have been great because I struggled a lot that first year. Even into the second year, I struggled a lot. Um, I ended up with a bacterial infection in my stomach. And so I would go a little bit and I'd be fine and I could eat okay and I was doing fine. But then I would get so sick for days and days and days. And a couple times I had to leave work just to go get an infusion because I was so dehydrated and I was in such a bad place and I had issues taking medicine because the medicine all made me sick. And so I ended up dropping about 10 pounds less than I am right now. And I looked like a skeleton and I was sick and I was lethargic. And so I stopped going to the gym and I stopped doing that because I felt so terrible. And so they've been super supportive through that too. Like, hey, do you need to take a long lunch? Do you need to go leave early and go see if you can get an infusion? Do you need is there anything we can do to help you? So that's been really great.
Fantastic.
Because I did have a lot of issues and, still like I can't drink cold drinks. I get sick. If you give me a water out of the fridge, I'm gonna probably throw up. If you give me a warm water that's been sitting in our garage, fine. So, and they know these things, so they won't try to offer me that. They'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna go to Starbucks. Do you want us to get you like a hot tea or something?" Because they know I can do the hot, I can't do the cold. So it's been little things like that that are super supportive, and I don't even think they realize what a difference they're making with me.
So huge.
Um, the people who don't know that I have surgery or that didn't know me when I was heavy, they're all super nice, but they're also, I can tell that I'm treated a lot differently now that I'm not fat.
Yes.
I am treated, and I actually had an issue with one of my doctors that, when I had first went to them and I was like, I don't know what to do. They're like, well, if you weren't fat, you wouldn't have a problem.
Exactly.
And I saw that same doctor 5 years later and they're like, oh, wow, you look great. How is everything? And just in that instant, seeing how differently people treat you and how serious people take skinny people, but how fat
Yeah.
people are just written off.
Yeah.
It's And everyone's like, "You should be happy. He treated you nice." I'm like, "No, it pisses me off because he
Yeah,
should have treated me that way when I was fat."
yeah,
Just because I'm fat doesn't mean my concerns aren't valid. It doesn't mean that I'm less of a person. It just means that I'm fat. Like, I'm sorry. And so it I've seen the bias against heavy-set people so much more. I notice it so much more as a skinny person. As a fat person, I just expected it. But as a thin person now, it pisses me off to no end. Like,
yeah,
dare you
yeah,
decide my worth because of my weight?
yeah.
And
Yes. Or
so,
my opinion or my ideas or yeah.
oh yeah, they don't question it. Oh, you need this? Okay, I got this for you right now. But when I was heavy, they're like, do you really need this? Excuse me.
Are you just being the lazy fat person?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna say, sort of in everybody's defense, first of all, I shared that opinion. I'm gonna just admit that I bought into that myself, knowing that it isn't true. And I think that that is some of where my own imposter syndrome came from. That how do I deserve this? How do I deserve whatever? But also, it's the culture that we are steeped in, right? It's the marketing. It's the that skinny people are, or fit people or whatever are somehow smarter or somehow have better ideas or deserve to have whatever. Um, we all are steeped in that same culture and steeped in those messages. And so, you know, any one person, including my own self, was bought into that. And therefore, I believed it when people shamed me. And you mentioned that you had some of that, growing up also, that it's part of what we buy into.
Yeah.
So,
Like our worth is based on our weight. And
exactly.
if we're fat, we don't deserve it. And it's absolutely not true. But yeah, looking back, as when I was at my heaviest, I believed I didn't deserve these opportunities because I was fat and I was lazy because I was tired and I was sore. And you know, now that I'm on the opposite side, I'm like, that was absolute bullshit. Like no one
Exactly.
deserved that.
Right. Absolutely.
So
And so I also wanted to find out. I love the fact that you go to MMA because I started doing that as well. Just wanted to be, one of those badasses also. And I had you gone to the gym before at all in your life? Were you a gym goer?
so I tried going to the gym in my early 20s. And I hated it. I felt like everyone was staring at me and judging me. And even though I couldn't see them doing it in my head, they were laughing at me because I
I
was
yeah,
fat.
yeah.
And so going to the gym was a huge thing, but I found a local gym. It's 24 hours, so I can put my kid to bed and go, and there's at most like 5 people there. So for me, it was easier to start getting out and doing that. Did I want to? No, but I'm like, I should probably do this. And at first it was really rough and it was really sporadic, and then it got pretty regular. And then after I'd been going to the gym and started to feel a little bit better about myself, my son is in a tongue pseudo class. And so I would always take him. And I was talking to the people there one day, and they're like, well, we do this MMA class on Friday. Maybe you'd like to try. And I was like, you know what? Sure, let's do this. And so I did that a couple times. And then I ended up signing up for Tung Sudo with my kid. So we're both yellow belts now. um,
Uh,
and it was one of those like I had tried, for me, exercise was always a chore. So I had to find ways that I enjoyed it. I love to dance. I used to teach line dance lessons at a country bar before I had my son. So I started going out and dancing again because you have fun. You don't really think about it. I love riding bikes. Turns out I love MMA and Tang Sudo. So it's finding those things that I actually enjoyed to be
yes,
able to get myself to that point. And then as I do it, I'm like, let me go. 2 years ago, if you would have told me I was doing all this stuff, I'd have laughed in your face and been like, yeah, that's never gonna happen. Turns out I love it. And for me, that was the changing point, was finding a way to exercise or incorporate exercise that A, didn't feel like, oh God, this is so much, or B, like I enjoyed it. And then there's little things like when I first started trying to exercise, it was the little things. Instead of driving, to the mailbox that's around the the curb, I'd park at the house and I'd walk. And it's only an extra like 50 steps each way, but hey, those 50 steps add up. And then one thing that a coworker actually had me do, she's like, yeah, because we sit in a cubicle all day. Like, that's all I do. Analyst, I sit in a cubicle and I stare at spreadsheets. And how am I supposed to feel motivated then? Well, she's like, you have to drink a lot of water. You have to pee a lot, right? I'm like, yeah, I do. She's like, every time you come back from the bathroom and you get back to your cubicle, just do 10 squats. Just stand there and do 10. It's not a lot. Your brain's like, oh, I can be done with this pretty quick. And
Yes.
then, sorry. And then, it adds up. She decided she wanted to be part of this. I'm sorry.
Well, absolutely.
Um,
She's invited to.
but, those 10 squats, not much. But if I get up in 8 hours, 4 times, that's 40 squats I just did. Doing that every day, my butt still a cause for concern, but it's a little more perfect than it used to be.
And it is still it's doing other things too. It's getting your circulation going. I
Yeah.
mean, especially because you're sitting in the cubicle. It's like apart from just the walking, adding the steps, but that also is it's a good thing for your body.
Yeah. And so for me, it wasn't like I didn't immediately jump into going to the gym and doing MMA and doing all this stuff. And it was small, tiny little baby steps that you don't realize are going to have such an effect, like finding little ways to incorporate it, instead of ordering your groceries curbside, go into the grocery store,
Yeah.
just walk
Yeah.
in, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
little things that may not seem like a lot at the time, it builds up and then it builds that motivation like, "Oh, hey, I did that, so I should be able to do this." Like I was doing little steps walking around and then I'm like, I think I can walk the dogs farther. And then my son, also my little cheerleader, we were walking the dogs one day and he's like, "Hey mom, you remember you used to be out of breath by the time we got to this point and you're not anymore." And I was like, "Hey, you're right. I'm not. Let's see how far we can go before I'm out of breath now." And it just the little things started motivating me more and more and got me into doing like, okay, I think I'm brave enough to go back and try and dance again after 10 years. Let's do it. Or, okay, I'll try this MMA class. I'm probably going to suck at it, but I'm going to try. And so, for me, that was a lot of it was the little baby steps building up to this.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, baby steps is the secret to building new habits, creating new ones, and also stopping old ones, little things that just add up. Um, I'm also so incorporating fitness, and especially something that you love.
Mhm.
Well, actually, one thing I wanted to say, when it is something that you love, do you ever feel like, again, I'm having fun. This isn't serious enough. Or do you ever, give yourself any kind of grief or have guilt about having fun?
So much, especially like with the dancing because I have to go out. And I'm like, I should be home with my kid. I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't something, you know. And so working through that guilt is a big thing too. Like, do I deserve to have fun? Do I deserve to go out and do this? And so that's been something that therapy has helped a lot with too.
Oh, good. And that was going to be another question is, do you continue to go to the support group meetings or meet with the mental health therapist or
I
um,
don't do the support
of
group
that?
meetings in person anymore. I still do, like, I go on a couple of subreddits, and Facebook groups, and I chime in here and there and chat along. Um, but I do biweekly still see my therapist, and I will continue doing so because even when I thought I was doing really well, like I said, you'll have that one bad day and it throws you off. And I found the most wonderful therapist where I can send her a message, be like, "Hey, I know we weren't scheduled for another week. Can we switch it to today? Do you have any openings?" And she's like, "Cool, what's going on?"
Yes.
And so being able to, when it really hits, talk to somebody and work through it and know that I'm not actually crazy.
So huge. Yeah.
And same with food. Like the lifestyle change with fitness is one thing, but the lifestyle change with food is another. And I'm not gonna lie, I still eat some of the things that, are bad, but I've learned A, moderation, and B, what to pair it with it. Like lately, I don't know what it is about those stupid little Lutz cheese balls. I love them. They're so good. They have no right to be as good as they are. But I don't need to sit there with the whole tub and just eat the whole tub in one sitting like I would have before. I'll have a couple of them, but then I'm like, cool, I should probably have some protein or something with it so that I'm not, like let me have something healthy with it. Even if I'm just in a snacky mood. Like I've got these little like protein sticks or protein shakes or a hard-boiled egg or, there's so many things that I can throw with it so that I'm like, I can still enjoy the things that I like in moderation as long as I'm pairing it with something that's going to help me.
Yeah. Yeah. And the 2-year mark, and I'm so glad that you launched into the whole food topic, because I think I'd be totally remiss for missing that massive component of this conversation. But um, so I'm curious about your transformation from however you ate before to now. What is some of the biggest changes that you've had to make, apart from volume, obviously?
Biggest change of anything is portion size. Holy moly. What I eat now, I feel so full and I'll look at it and be like, I used to eat this whole plate. We'll go out to eat and I'll order something and I'll have a little bit because that's all I need. And I look and I'm like, before I would force myself to eat that whole plate.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just processing that is crazy because that was a normal serving to me before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, biggest thing is portion. Second is carbonation. I know some people go back to carbonation. They're like, it's fine in moderation, whatever. I'm not one. Because I know that I would be tempted. Well, one will turn into two. Well, two will turn into three. Because certain things are harder to break that habit. And for me, I knew carbonation would be one of them. And I wasn't a huge like Dr. Pepper drinker. I always loved those like seasonal, like blackberry ginger ales or like the sparkling waters. Like it wasn't even crazy big drinks. But I know I loved that carbonation. So cutting out the carbonation has been a challenge. And now it's to the point where I don't really like it. I don't think about it a lot. I can see people drinking soda and it doesn't bother me, or like a beer. Sometimes I miss a beer. I won't lie, but overall it doesn't bother me too much. But there's certain times that it hits me. Like gonna go take my kid to see the Minecraft movie soon, and he's gonna want to get like a Sprite with his popcorn. And I don't know why, but a Sprite with a popcorn sounds really freaking good.
Yeah.
So, like cutting the carbonation out was rough, and then the portion size. And I think those are the two biggest things for me. But I found, I tried so hard in the beginning to stick to that very strict diet that they gave me. But there are some things I just couldn't do. And my dietitian actually told me she's super proud of me because I may not be following the diet to the T, but I found a way to make it work for me.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I don't, it's not that diet for some people can be realistic, but for people like me, it's not. So I have to find ways to like tweak it. Like, should I have this? Probably not. But if I do this and this, then it still works. I'm not gaining weight. I'm still getting what I need. And just finding ways to trick your body too. Like one thing that I found, I love cheesecake. I could eat me a whole dang, you give me a cheesecake and I'm just gonna throw it down. But I've watched these things and I found one where it was like you take cottage cheese and you blend it up so it's smooth. And then you get the sugar-free Jello pudding
Oh,
pack and cheesecake flavor, and you
yeah.
put some in there, and then you put like honey or stevia or whatever sweetener you want, and then you put it back in the fridge and let it cool. It's the same consistency. It tastes to me the same as cheesecake. Even my fiance, who some of the stuff he's like, I think your taste bud's broken. This is one of those that it's not. He's like, wow, this is actually pretty good. So I can scoop some of that out. I can put some fresh berries or I can put like some dark chocolate chips and then I can eat it. And I'm like, I'm getting that sweet fix that I need, but I'm not eating a dang cheesecake.
And you're getting some great protein, and you're
Yeah.
getting, the fruit, yeah, you're
So
making it
finding
very
ways to like, to still be able to enjoy, like, I don't have to ignore that sweet tooth because
yeah,
ignoring it is going to suck because you're going to end up
right.
caving at some point, and then the guilt is going to eat you alive, and then you're going to spiral. So finding ways to work around it. I love pizza. Cauliflower crust, phenomenal. I love cauliflower crust. Get a little bit of extra protein on that pizza, and you don't have to feel guilty about eating a slice of pizza. You know, it's It's finding ways to make it work for you because it's not a cookie cutter copy and paste for every person. Every person is going to be different. I know people who are like, I can't drink anything hot. It makes me nauseous. For me, I can't drink anything cold. It makes me nauseous. So
Body
finding
is
that
so different.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you swear by may not work for me. What I swear by, may not work for somebody else. It's finding a way to stick as close to the diet as you can while still getting the things that you want and you need to maintain a healthy balance. So,
You mentioned uh, the movie that you're going to take your son to, and I know that you are needing to get off to that now, so I won't keep you much longer. I just want to say, number one, I'm so grateful for this time that you have given, and I appreciate you. Is there anything that I didn't ask or any rabbit trail we didn't go down that you'd like to offer?
um, I guess the only thing that I would bring up is what to expect after surgery. Because a lot of people, like, we know that we're going to be sore because we got cut open and things like that. For me, one thing that I wish someone would have told me about is the gas pain right after surgery. They inflate your stomach so that they can cut you open. And so, some people say it's like really bad bloating for them, but for me, that hurt so much worse than I would have ever thought because my stomach was just expanded and it hurt. And, so like I wish I would have known about that so that I didn't come out of anesthesia. Like I'm pretty sure I came out of anesthesia screaming. I'm not even gonna lie. Because I didn't know what was gonna happen. And I wish I would have known. And then certain things like people may not realize after surgery, like using the restroom is gonna be really hard because you're not getting that full, especially the first couple of weeks, that full expansive diet that your body was used to. So like these are things that you should ask about. You need to talk to your doctor about. You need to prepare yourself for that you may not think about. Like if water intake's hard, what are some alternatives to water? Because for me, certain water tastes weird after surgery. Like I can grab a bottle of water and it tastes like mud. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Finding things
Yeah.
that are going to work for you. Okay, if I can't drink water, doc, what is something I can do to make sure that I'm staying hydrated? If I can't go to the restroom and I can't take a pill, what can I do? Like what can help me? What are things that might be able to help me adjust to it? And so really taking the time to look at and talk to people and find out what could change and like what you can change to make it a little bit easier to accept some of these not so great changes um, are a big thing. Like, make sure you ask the questions. If you don't know the right questions to ask, jump on one of the bariatric support groups.
Yes.
Talk to someone who has done it. Talk to the people that are sitting in the lobby for the bariatric area. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask all the questions. Ask questions even if you think they're stupid questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Agreed.
that's my soapbox. I'll step off of it now, but like that's the big thing.
I like your soapbox, man. That means Samantha. I also just I really love your whole story, and I am so grateful that you were willing to share it here. And it's my hope that you and I, right here and now, are building a community of people who will help support each other in the ways that we know are so, so important to all of us being healthier, more vital, energetic people who are living a life that we just absolutely love. And I thank you for all of that.
I'm really grateful that you allowed me to come on here today. I won't lie, I was horribly nervous about it. But if my story can help at least one person, like if you're on the cusp of deciding, like, should I do it or should I not? Hopefully I can help give that answer. If you're struggling after surgery and you don't know what to do because you're following the diet, but it's hard, you know, maybe you know that you can switch it up a little bit and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're bad or you're failing. Like if I can help one person go see that therapist or try that food or, you
Try
know,
that MMA class.
that MMA class, you know,
Yeah.
then it's totally worth it. So with my son, I've found he's a lot happier. Um, because he's not tiptoeing around my volatile emotions or my mood swings or anything like that, we do a lot more together. Turns out he loves hiking. So do I. So sometimes we'll just do an early Sunday morning hike together. We walk the dogs together. We do the MMA together, which I think's helped him a lot. You know, we're a lot more active together. He's having more fun, and I found we also communicate a lot better. Like we sit down and talk because I know that it was rough for him before. So, you know, sometimes we'll sit it down and I'll be like, "Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I do as your mom this week?" You know? And so
Oh,
we get to talk about it.
wow. An
It's like,
awesome
"Yeah,
mom.
kinda rough."
Jeez.
I'm like, "Oh, that hurts a little bit, but I'm glad you told me." And I don't think he could have done that before because I would have taken everything so personally and I would have been standoffish and defensive. So, but that's been the biggest change so far with him.
Wow. That's beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Wasn't that incredible? Thank you so much to Samantha for joining the Wild Rebel Wellness community and for sharing her story with such bravery and honesty, and for giving us so many great tips on how we can all rise to the challenges that this path to wellness presents us. I loved how much support Samantha had before and after bariatric surgery, both from her fantastic bariatric program as well as her team of cheerleaders. She even admitted that support has made a big difference in the success that she's created for herself. Not everyone has that. Not every bariatric program offers it. And certainly not every friend or family member knows how to offer it. If you're considering bariatric surgery or are navigating life afterward and feel like you could use some support, I would love to help you. I had bariatric surgery over 7 years ago and am also a national board certified health and wellness coach. I've also got over 30 years of experience working in hospitals and medical clinics in the US, so I get it. If you'd like a discovery call with me, all you need to do is tell me a little bit more about yourself and your journey at the link in the podcast description below. And I've also got some other resources there for you, so be sure to check it out. Remember, being well in this era and in this culture, it's an act of rebellion. So go, be a rebel and be well. Until next time.